Hello, everyone, and welcome to Flower Power. Today is August 8th, which is this really important day, sort of cosmologically, and it's called the Lion's Gate. And I'm not going to talk about it too much today, but if you are an astrology lover and a cosmology lover and a universal energy lover, definitely check out the Lion's Gate. I'll put a link down below this video at the end. But today we are going to talk about having the courage of a lion with our plant of the day, borage. Borage is a world traveler that was originally from the Mediterranean and made its way into Britain and eventually across the northern hemisphere, basically, when the Romans invaded and moved north back in the ancient times. And so it is something that has been used for many centuries, millennia by people. And it's not used very much today. And we need to make a change because it's an awesome plant. So I'm Allison from the Well Cultivated Life. Thanks for joining me here for another Flower Power. Now, borage is Borago officinalis, and it's an annual plant that likes to self-seed and make itself quite at home in your garden. It is a cousin of comfrey, and even if you didn't know that, you could probably tell from the leaf, if you're familiar with comfrey at all. The leaf has the very somewhat irritating hairs on it, similar to comfrey, which is interesting because it's considered to be good for the skin. Hmm. But it is an excellent plant to put in your garden because the pollinators love it. Now, last week, if you missed it, I did a whole show about pollinators, and I didn't talk too much about borage because because I knew I was going to be speaking about it this week. And so borage is a great plant to have in your garden because not only the bees love it because a couple of reasons. First of all, it is a plant, it's an annual, which means that annuals only get 1 year, right? They get 1 year to be able to make all the seeds before they die. And so they're constantly flowering and constantly have flowers available. The second thing is that borage is a type of flower that refills its nectar quickly. And so that means that even if there are a lot of insects around and they're drinking down all the nectar, borage will refill quickly enough. It also has a use as a companion plant. It helps to ward off some of these predatory insects, such as the moths that like to get onto your caterpillars. This one source found said that it's because they get confused with all the other insects flying around, but I'm not so sure that's it. The flower itself looks very similar if you've ever seen a tomato flower in shape, but I don't think they're related. So it's also just this incredible blue, bright blue, cornflower blue color that's absolutely gorgeous. And it is lovely to have because it is edible as well. And so this bright blue flower is such a great addition to throw into a salad. You can also make a candied borage flower as well. And it is used in creating uh, different types of liqueurs and is really considered to have kind of a cucumber-like flavor. Now, again, it's got this really um, almost irritating surface on the leaves. Some people said they like to eat it plain. I'm skeptical about the leaves. I have eaten the flowers. They are quite delicious, but you'll have to try it for yourself. Perhaps it's not irritating for you. Now, let me show you a couple of quick pictures here. So this is a close-up of the flower, and it's such an interesting look. It's just quite beautiful and very strong. And borage for heavy hearts, borage for courage is the name or the saying that is used a lot to describe this plant, and we'll find out more about that in a bit. And it stands, the flowers are very upright and very prominent. This is what it looks like growing out in your garden, this big swath of borage, because it's very it's kind of friendly and it likes to take up a lot of space. This big one stalk that I have here, it wasn't upright. It like decided to fall over and spread out all over the garden. So it does need a lot of space to grow. I put this picture in here because borage does make a lovely oil. You can make an infused oil out of it, which is basically just dropping the flowering tops into an olive oil or something like that and letting it simmer away in your windowsill and then strain it out. And here is a salad with the beautiful borage leaves, and it's also some edible nasturtiums, which are super peppery if you have never tried those in a salad. And then this is a picture of the seed, which is made into a pressed oil, similar as to you would press any other type of seed oil. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. So, borage also has is good to eat because you can put it in all different kinds of recipes, but it has lots of potassium and calcium in it. So, it is definitely worth trying. Now, it's been written about in many different ancient texts, or referred to anyway, as having the ability to bring joy and lift the heavy heart. And so, that is exactly what the Greeks and Romans used it for. Of course, they put it in their wine. So who knows? Was it the borage or the wine that was making them feel a little bit more joyous? Hard to tell. But I think it's kind of cool that they would just take the flowers, throw that in, and have like an instant herbal extract, right? Now, one of the properties that it has is it's considered cooling. And so when we talk about a plant being cooling, we don't mean that, oh, I put it into my wine and now my wine feels cold. We say that it has that property because it acts on our body to sort of trigger different types of cooling mechanisms. And it works on kind of like hot or inflamed types of conditions. So one of the things that it does is it helps to promote sweating, and that is a mechanism we have to cool our bodies off. And borage helps to promote that as well. And again, as I just said, it was used to promote joy and help people with a heavy heart. And one of the things I read in Matt Wood's book was that um, this kind of mental state. We don't see this a lot with herbs that are just used for regular traditional herbalism. We're usually seeing, oh, gee, that has this action on this, chemical in our body. But apparently, it's very good for women in menopause who are exhausted or have excess nervousness. And the example they used was teachers. And as a former teacher, I can guarantee you that fits the profile of most teachers, exhausted, right? So it just gives them kind of the heart to keep going. And it turns out that this relationship is not just some random thing within the body. The borage works on the adrenals. And so what is the adrenals do? Well, they produce cortisol and, when necessary, adrenaline and norepinephrine and these other chemicals that get you going. So to say that it helps to lift you up and give you more encouragement is probably true. Now, according to Matt Wood, he's saying, well, it probably works in other aspects of the endocrine system as well. Now, the flowers, like I said, they can be made into an extract, either alcohol extract. They'd probably make a delicious glycerite, or they can also be an infused oil. And you would use, you would probably, it says the flowers, but, given the nutrition and the other healing properties of the plant, I would probably take this whole flowering top, kind of chop that up, maybe take off some of these small leaves. I probably would not put the whole stem in if I was going to be making an oil. I might have to make an oil of that. I picked it, right? But then I would add maybe some extra flowers in to make the oil. And like I said earlier, the seeds are pressed into an oil. And the reason why they are so helpful is because they have a lot of fatty acids, including the GLA with the gamma linolenic acid, and lots of other fatty acids, which are these anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties, and that's why it's so useful for skincare. So that can be used on arthritic conditions, hot, inflamed. Remember, it's cooling. And so also it's used for acne. Think about acne. It's like red, inflamed. And so that makes sense that borage would work on cooling that inflamed condition. Now, the flower essence. Now, borage is probably one of the most important and most commonly used flower essences to include in a blend for this very reason that we've been talking about. Borage for courage. When we are using flower essences for healing, we need the courage to move forward and actually allow ourselves to heal. So, strengthening that heart and moving forward is really, really important when working with flower essence. And it's especially useful for those that are working through grief or, some sort of disappointment or discouragement. And it turns out the word courage, borage for courage is the saying you always see. COR is a Latin prefix for heart. And then I believe age means move, like to move the heart or to lift the heart or something like that. So the actual word courage means that. And here it is associated with borage as well. And the original name for it was corage, Corage, was the original name for this plant. So heart lifting, right? And so, according to Flower Essence Services, borage flower essence helps the heart to experience ebullience and lightness, filling the soul with fresh forces of optimism and enthusiasm. And it's an excellent all purpose balm and toner for, again, for any other formula that you're using whenever you need some upliftment and encouragement. Now, I got out a book that I don't use very often. It's an older book called Flower Power. You got to like this book when you have a show called Flower Power by Anne McIntyre. And she says that the flower, talks about different plants and their flowers and including the flower essence. And she says borage flower essence promotes courage and optimism. It helps to erase a broken heart and brightens the disheartened, and is particularly helpful for those suffering grief, loss, sadness, or discouragement. It lifts the spirits, helping you to rise above the pain you feel and preventing depression. I thought that's interesting, right? If we have a, more lightness in our heart, I mean, depression is physical, really, like we feel it physically, we feel a heaviness. So using borage to help lighten the heart can help people who are tendency towards depression. She says it's also useful for those who are feeling low after they've been ill for a long time, or just feeling kind of discouraged because they're starting to age. And in our societies, we don't have a very positive perspective on people who are aging. So perhaps borage, if you're in that stage of life, that might be a good essence for you. Now, today's card is going to be from, it is from the Herb Crafters Tarot, and it is the Six of Water. And in this deck, the sixes represent bounty, community, and magic, and they are focused on plants that offer food, medicine, and not only to people, but also to, animals, nutrients for pollinators, protection to the land, and so on. And so borage is considered a very giving type of a plant because it offers so much to the insects that are feeding from the nectar. And the main message of the card is celebrate milestones, old and new, freely give and freely receive. Let your heart be comforted by the company of friends. So it has a picture here of a table that's set down on the beach and getting ready to welcome some friends together. There's bouquets of purple and white flowers, and there's a clay goddess who is raising a toast to those who are about to gather here. It's a celebration of friends who are getting together to celebrate their journeys, to support each other, and to celebrate their long-lasting friendship that they've had together. And so that's what the message is really about, celebrating friendships, because if there is a surefire way to lift your heart is to be with friends. So I love this message from Borage where it says freely giving and freely receiving. That's part of the formula. Just giving does not lift your heart, it drains you. And so, just like the plant, giving all the pollen, not the pollen, but the nectar to them, it receives pollination in return, right? And it also receives a big old spot in your garden because this guy right here, like this, was laying down and growing like this in the garden. Borage likes to spread out and take up. It just likes to make itself comfortable. It's very friendly in your garden, snuggle right in. And it also likes to spread its seeds around. And so, why not give and receive the benefits of that back? And this is a joyful way to be. But we as humans are not told that that's okay. We're not, well, if you're too happy, people won't like it. What are you so happy about anyway? What reason do you have to be happy? And the truth is, you don't need a reason, right? However, if you have a hard time feeling joyful, what better way than to get together and celebrate with friends? That is an incredibly heart lifting experience. And so make sure you're nurturing friendships that you're receiving from your friends as well. And so this week, I want you to give yourself permission, or I'll give you permission right now to be joyful, to get together with friends, to celebrate each other and just feel that mutual support and how important it is in keeping our hearts light and happy. And one of the things from the card says this, which I will leave you with today: embrace embrace a carefree attitude and watch your joy expand. So that's the message from Borage tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe to my channel. And I will see you next week for another Flower Power Live. I am going to be running a retreat. I pushed it back to the end of August. It's going to be starting on the 24th now. And it's going to be all about flower essences and healing and our ability of our body to heal. So I hope you join me for that. Have a great night, everybody. Take care.